All right, what's up, guys? We are live. How's everybody doing today? It is January the 21st, 2021. How's everybody doing? So we're going to be doing another Q&A session today. As always, I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. So hope you guys are doing well out there. Interesting times we're in. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, like what way are things going to go in the world? I think it's a very important time to kind of bring your focus to your immediate environment. It's easy to be spending time on social media and the internet and get down all these rabbit holes to where your energy is just completely scattered out into illusory worlds, right? It's a good time to find something that really inspires you. Like, what do you enjoy doing so much that when you're in it, when you're doing that thing, it's like time doesn't exist. It's like there's nothing else. You're like creating a whole world with whatever it is that you're focusing on, right? These are the types of things that I like to spend my time doing. I like to play music. Obviously, I'm into Qigong, sexual Kung Fu, because when I'm doing these things, it's like the outer world just disappears and I'm here in my space, just creating what it is I'm creating, completely absorbed in that to the point where nothing else really matters, right? The more you're able to get into this kind of flow state and forget about, any external confusions, any external struggles and things like that, the more joy you'll find in your life, the more creativity, the more you get into your flow. And, so instead of, spending your time on the internet arguing with people, find something creative to put your energy into that motivates you, that inspires you. It's really important to have a creative outlet because it's really up to us to create this world that we're in. If we want to change the world, if we want to live in a different world, we have to create it ourselves. We can't rely on anyone else to do this for us. No politician, no priest, no one else is going to do these things for us. We have to create the world the way we want to see it, right? So it's time to live the way you want to see the world, right? So it's the time to get inspired and find something you truly enjoy. Develop your skill sets, develop your abilities, right? Cultivate your chi, cultivate your spiritual path, and really come into your true self. It's not about what anyone else says, who you think you should be, who they think you should be. This is about you. What excites you? What motivates you? What are you passionate about? What brings you harmony, balance, bliss, and joy? These are the things you want to be focusing on right now. And if everyone's doing this, imagine, what the world will become, right? So, all right. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'm going to get in some Q&A here. So feel free to send your questions. By the way, I'm going to start doing these streams about 2 hours earlier than when I was starting before. So I'm starting at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 3 p.m. LA time. So from here on out, this is probably what time I'll be starting my lives in the future. Okay, so this first question on YouTube. Can we function freely in this world while practicing sexual Kung Fu? Taoists talk so much about deep spirituality associated with sexual Kung Fu. I don't want to become a monk. Shall I continue safely? So basically the question is, can you devote yourself deeply to a spiritual path and still have a human life in the world, right? And I say definitely you can. It's all about balance. It's not about, this is my opinion, my experience. It's not about, leaving behind the world and spending the rest of your life in a cave. What's the point of that? It's why would you incarnate into a body, come to Earth just to leave behind everything and live in seclusion, not contributing to the world, right? Your spiritual development is important, but so is your worldly destiny. You came into your body for a reason. You have a mission here to accomplish it. And if you're just trying to escape all that, you didn't really accomplish anything, really, right? And the Taoists talk about, cultivating your Ming and your Xing. Your Ming is your worldly destiny. Your Xing is your spiritual destiny. It's really the return to source. And these things should be imbalanced, for your highest fulfillment. People often get into extremes of this, like you're only focused on your worldly path, you become overly obsessed with money, your ego, your status. And none of these things really matter that much because at the moment of death, these things are gone. You can't take these things with you. It's not going to matter how much money's in your bank account when you're dying, right? You can't take it with you. But at the same time, obviously, again, you came to this world for a purpose. You came here to accomplish some sort of mission, right? And so being able to, download that in, remember what that is and accomplish that. But at the same time, cultivating your spiritual path, remembering who you truly are, remembering that you're more than just this meat suit of a body, right? We're infinite beings. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Consciousness is infinite. And so remembering that, grounding that into our bodies. So, you have your dedication to your spiritual path. You know, you have your spiritual practice. Maybe you spend a certain amount of time in retreat outside of society to really connect to nature, connect to source, right? But at the same time, you come back into the world to share what you've learned with others and to, you know, help others on their path as well. So to me, it's all about having these things in balance and harmony. I don't think that you should be a hermit and live in the cave your whole life, but obviously you need some degree of being able to go on retreat a bit and cultivate your energy. So it's all about having a balance between these things. Will the use of microcosmic orbit during sex, here's another question on YouTube. Will the use of microcosmic orbit during sex and cultivating sexual energy make me very spiritual? Right now I'm into sexual kung fu for good health and pleasure. I don't want to go very deep spiritually. It's not necessarily, you know, going to suddenly make you super spiritual unless you're focused on that. I mean, typically when you are working with the orbit, it does tend to lead to this bound because you're harmonizing all the energy centers of the body. So instead of your sexual energy just being this kind of physical realm animalistic expression, when you start moving it through the orbit, it changes the expression of it, changes your experience of it, especially when you start to open the crown, you know, the upper dantian space. Typically there's a natural evolution of your spiritual path, you know, but usually you have to focus on that. You know, there's to really go deep in the spiritual aspects, there's certain practices for that, right? The microcosmic orbit is kind of a kindergarten practice, really, though it's very powerful and deep within itself. All right, so here's another question on YouTube. Is pre-cum a relapse? Will I lose testosterone and benefits if I have pre-cum? People ask me this all the time. No, losing the pre-ejaculate fluid, the Cowper's gland fluid, which is the clear liquid that comes out of your penis when you're aroused, it's not a big deal. There's not nearly the amount of concentrated nutrients, you know, and energy that there is in semen. This fluid, it just alkalizes, you know, the pathway for the semen to flow through, right? You're not losing any more energy from having this fluid emit than you are from blowing your nose. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. It's pretty much inevitable when you become aroused to have some of this fluid come out. You know, you don't need to overly obsess about this stuff. You know, relax. Okay, another question. I've been practicing this for 5 months and my ejaculation has gotten way harder to control. What am I doing wrong? What is it you've been practicing for 5 months? You know, semen retention, sexual kung fu practices. There's a lot of variables in ejaculation control. As you practice semen retention as a man, it can become more difficult to control ejaculation if you're not doing the practices to relieve all this pressure that builds up in your body, you know, so okay, here's another question. What are the consequences of watching porn without masturbating or ejaculating? Just like watching a regular movie, it's still going to cause the same weird effects on your brain chemistry, you know, your energy body. In general, I don't recommend it. Like, you know, what's the point of just sitting there watching porn? It's, again, you get that same dopamine overstimulation. I mean, hey, no judgments here. If it's something you want to do, that's fine, but understand that it can create some imbalances in your brain chemistry, your body, your energy flow, all these things. I personally prefer not to, but, you know. How do I last longer? So first of all, get my free ejaculation control course. There's a link in my Instagram bio. There's a link in this video on YouTube as well. This is a great starting guide to learn to control your ejaculation. Basically, it's kind of the foundations of it are being able to control your breath, being able to keep yourself in that parasympathetic calm state, because ejaculation is a function of your sympathetic fight or flight nervous system response. It's basically a tension response in the body. All this tension, this sexual arousal builds up and you can't hold it anymore, and it has to go somewhere, so it explodes out your penis. So being able to release this pressure inwardly into the body. So take my free ejaculation control course. It's got some great practices for you. For maximum benefits, should you go very lengthy times on semen retention, like half a year or more, or 1 to 2 more? Okay, so the question is there benefit to going like super long periods of time with semen retention? It really depends on, you know, it's not really like one certain approach works for everyone. Usually in the beginning, it's best to go as long as you can without ejaculating, especially when you've been going years of masturbating every day to porn, ejaculating every day. You usually have a certain level of depletion that has to be recovered, which can take years for some people. It took me about, it took me several years to really build my gene back up that I had, spent recklessly in my teenage years and 20s. But so in the beginning, it's best to go as long as you can. Obviously, if you're in like a relationship, you're having sex with someone, don't over obsess with it. It's not going to kill you to ejaculate here and there. But I think the most important thing, instead of obsessing about how long you're going, focus on training the methods to control your ejaculation, have non-ejaculatory orgasms, and basically, yeah, it is best if you can go, as long as you can when you're first rebuilding your energy. But once you reach a certain point after, however long it takes for you personally, again, for me, it was a few years, you get to the point where you have so much energy built up, especially if you're doing Qigong and sexual Kung Fu practices where it doesn't matter as much if you ejaculate here and there, right? Does semen retention change your physical appearance? It can, because again, when you're depleted, you look different. Your skin kind of looks sunken in your face. You age. You look a bit more aged, right? You don't have that like glow in your skin. Your hair can start to become thin and gray when you're depleting yourself energetically, basically, right? So by restoring your energy, you can have subtle changes to your appearance. You often look much younger. Do I personally breathe? Okay. Do I personally breathe in and out through the nose when doing Qigong, or in the nose and out through the mouth? I just do nostril breathing when I'm doing Qigong. It's most effortless and kind of calming. Breathing out through the mouth is more of a clearing practice. So if you're like trying to relieve stress, you're trying to like release excess heat, tension from the body, then it can be good to exhale through the mouth. But typically in my practice, I'm just doing nostril breathing. Okay, question on Instagram. Partner has found more intimacy and connection with another man through him holding better space, being more present, and sexual healing work. How do I navigate this? Okay, your partner has found more of an interest in another man. So, it's either time to let go of the relationship, or, how somehow bring about a better connection with her yourself, so she prefers you. But it's really, it can be a tough situation, obviously. So again, it's either time to let go, or it's time to change some things about yourself if you really want to try to salvage the relationship. I'm on day 17 of retention and loving it. I practice the 5 Tibetan rites every morning. Will this help me transport my energy better? It's a decent practice. It's kind of more just a physical opening up the body a bit. It will help your energy flow a bit, but overall, it's not going to like transmit your sexual energy for you. It takes more precise energetic work, we could say, but it's a great foundational practice. I used to use those practices as well. What's the difference between Dantian, ejaculation control, and sexual vitality breathing? Aren't they basically the same? So these are some practices I teach in my course. Subtle differences. In the Dantian practice, you're working directly with the Dantian, which is this energetic center in the belly. So that's a specific practice for building Jing and Qi in the Dantian. It will create a Dantian for you. You'll feel it tangibly. The ejaculation and sexual vitality breathing are just deep belly breathing, which just breathing in that way helps you build your sexual energy. And then the ejaculation control breathing is how that relates to being able to control your ejaculation. So there's subtle differences between the practices. Okay, question on Instagram. What's the best practice to do after an ejaculation? I made a YouTube video. I've made several actually on basically what to do to recover as quick as you can from an ejaculation, but basically anything that restores your Jing energy, right? Qigong practices are great, especially Jing building Qigong practices. Breath not like forceful breath work, but like really slow belly breathing, like really sinking your awareness down into your lower dantian space in the belly, because there's a direct connection between the breath and your sexual energy. In Chinese medicine, obviously breath relates to the lungs. It's the metal element, which in the 5 element creation cycle, the metal nourishes the water, which is the kidney. The kidney energy is the sexual energy. So the lungs nourish the kidneys, right? So doing some calming breath practices, focusing on sinking the breath and your awareness down into the belly, helps to strengthen the kidneys and rebuild your sexual energy quicker. Also, there's certain supplements, you can take to boost it as well. What do I think of hands-free orgasms? I don't know. I don't have much of a thought on them. I have experienced personally the type of hands-free orgasms I've experienced are prostate orgasms. I made a video about this where you basically focus your awareness on the prostate with or without a massaging device in there. And personally, I've had some of my most powerful experiences, orgasms as well, but simply my most powerful experiences were these hands-free prostate orgasms created simply with my awareness in my body. And these were non-ejaculatory, non-depleting orgasms, very energizing, actually. I was on day 200 plus on NoFap. I broke it. Now I'm back on my streak, currently on day 36. Do you have any tips? Well, if you're on day 36, and you went 200 days, you're doing pretty well. Like, don't, worry too much about it. But in general, for the semen retention lifestyle, it's all about keeping that sexual energy moving, keeping it balanced, channeling into things, keeping yourself, creative, doing creative work, doing energy practices to keep the energy flowing and balanced so it doesn't build up and cause stagnance. Okay, here's a good question. Is it possible to become good in bed when you are single at the moment? Yes. In fact, I think this is the best time to train because it's much easier to train your ejaculatory response when it's just yourself, using self-stimulation, because when you're with a partner, it's hard to learn something new because you want to like please them and you feel like you have to perform and you have all this added stimulation of, having an attractive partner or whatever. So it complicates things a bit, right? So in my experience, it was a lot quicker to learn this stuff when I was on my own. Again, I went through a couple of years where I was single, and this is when I was really going deep into my first training in sexual kung fu, and I really developed my ejaculation control, again, just using these practices on my own. And then when I got into a sexual relationship, it was like, wow, I can really last a long time in bed, so yeah, it's a great time to train, actually. There it is. Got my green drink. Okay, what's the best type of meditation for a man practicing sexual kung fu? Tell us some amazing benefits of meditation. Good question. There's many types of meditation. There's many different energetic practices you can use in kind of the, meditation setting. Obviously, the benefits of meditation are that you learn to calm your mind. You start to see how many like random thoughts are going through your head at any particular time, and you learn to actually stop this. So you're not just like, cycling through all these random thoughts all day, like being controlled by them. So you learn to slow down your mind and you become less impulsive. You become less reactive because you develop this kind of more observer type of state, right? A little more neutral, a little more balanced and centered within yourself, right? But specifically in the context of semen retention or sexual kung fu practices, the most important meditation type practices are, I would say, building the dantian, the lower dantian space, because you have to build some qi to be able to circulate through your body, right? So that's where the lower dantian comes in. I have a YouTube video on this. It's called Number One Exercise for Building Energy. I also expand on it in my courses. But so number one, dantian building meditation. Number two is microcosmic orbit, because now this is the pathway to move your sexual energy in. It's difficult to control your ejaculation and have full body orgasms if you don't have, openness in your body, a path for the sexual energy to move in. So these are very important practices. Grab a little drink here. All right. So next question is testicle tapping good? What are the benefits? How hard and how often can we do it? So testicle tapping is just, yeah, you tap your, this is the testicles. You tap on them like that percussively. Yes, there's a lot of benefits to it. It helps to kind of break up stagnance in the testicles, kind of activates your sexual energy, and it actually increases sperm production. I've seen studies showing that this significantly improves semen production in men. In fact, this is an exercise that can help men who are infertile, right? Testicle tapping. So those are the benefits of it. How hard? You can do it pretty much as often as you want. Obviously, you don't want to do it all day. Your testicles might be a bit sore, but do it a couple minutes a day or a few times a day if you want. Don't do it like super hard. It shouldn't be to the point where like it hurts. A slight aching is pretty normal, but you don't want it to you don't want to be like punching yourself in the balls. Is pre-cum considered a relapse? No. I already answered this, but no, you're not losing any more energy from pre-cum than you are blowing your nose. It's just, it's not the same as semen. It's really difficult to avoid losing this pre-ejaculate fluid. Don't worry about it. Do you believe in reincarnation and karma? I believe consciousness is infinite. I believe there's no end to our consciousness. There's no beginning, no end. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So I'm open to the idea of reincarnation. Obviously, I don't remember it. I don't remember the process of being, dying and being rebirthed in another body. But I'm open to the idea of reincarnation. It makes sense to me. Yes, I definitely believe in karma. Every action has a energetic effect, right? Should I keep my eyes open while bringing energy down from the crown to the dantian? It doesn't really matter if they're open or closed, whatever feels better for you. Okay. This next question, when it comes to solo cultivation and experiencing multiple whole body orgasms without ejaculating, do you think there is absolutely no significant loss in some Jing Qi? It really depends. It depends what type of orgasms you're having. Like if you're really overstimulating yourself really intensely, if you're watching porn and all this stuff, there's a lot of factors to it. But in general, if you're having the energetic full body orgasms, I usually don't notice any sort of depletion from this of Jing Qi. In fact, I usually feel more energized from it, right? So it's really you have to be your own observer, your own teacher of this stuff. Do you feel depleted? Then you probably lost energy. Do you feel more energized? Then you probably gained something. No, the 6-week course is not currently open. The last round of registration ended. It was 2 weeks ago. I will be opening the course again in a couple months. So if you're on my email list by grabbing my free course, which is in my Instagram bio and my YouTube video description, then you'll be on my email list and you'll know when the course opens again. Okay, is sleeping naked good for your testosterone production? I'm not sure, honestly. I personally sleep naked. I have most of my life. It just felt better to me. So I don't, it's extremely rare for me to sleep with clothes on. Obviously, you don't want to wear constrictive clothing as a man. It cuts off circulation, especially around your genital area. If you're wearing tight briefs underwear or tight pants, it cuts off your circulation and can really have a negative effect on your fertility and your testosterone levels. Can you have a prostate ejaculation without losing energy? You can have prostate orgasms without ejaculating, losing energy, but if you're ejaculating from your prostate, then you're losing your semen and you are losing energy. Okay, here's another question. I want to cultivate my sexual energy, but it's hard because that energy is so intense. What are the most important of your practices to start taking control? Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is sexual energy, it can be very, very volatile. Um, that's why a lot of people don't teach this work, honestly, because it's difficult. It's difficult to control, in some aspects to control your sexual energy because it's such a powerful force, and you've spent so many years like expressing it in certain ways, building these pathways. It can be difficult to break that, right? And so that's why, really, why I structured my 6 week course the way I did is because most people teaching this stuff, they go straight to like the, okay, this is, your energy's aroused. This is how you try to move it. It's very difficult to go from 0 to 100. To go straight to trying to control your aroused sexual energy. It just doesn't work for most people. So that's why my 6 week course, we spend weeks just on foundational practices to lay the foundation for being able to control your sexual energy. So like clearing your body of blockages energetically, opening more space in your body, releasing tension patterns, opening the microcosmic orbit, and grounding, right? So really the most important things are clearing, being able to clear yourself, clear old patterns, clear negative emotions, clear space in your body, have established a safe pathway to move the energy in, which is the microcosmic orbit. And then thirdly, grounding, being able to ground that energy. It's one of the most important things because when you're disconnected from the earth, when you don't have any root, it's like you don't have a grounding cord, and it's easy to short circuit. Your energy just, shoots out of you easily. When you are able to ground that sexual energy, in the course specifically, I teach you how to connect with the earth's energy and mix it with your sexual energy, which cools down the vibration of your sexual energy and makes it more digestible and easier to work with. Then, it makes it a lot more effortless. Okay, this question: are reverse Kegels the best exercise? What can I combine them with? I normally combine them with tongue mewing. They are a good exercise for what they're intended for, which is relaxing the pelvic floor and, releasing tension down there, which is a common cause of premature ejaculation. So they're a good exercise for that. Are they the best exercise? It depends what the context is. And I don't necessarily recommend combining them with anything, because if you're trying to do a bunch of different things at once, you won't be able to give anything your full attention, right? So I recommend just concentrating on the practice you're doing as much as you can. Okay, so you missed course registration. You want to get started with stuff. Make sure you take my free ejaculation control course. There's a link in my Instagram bio, and go to my YouTube channel and go through my qigong playlist. Those will be some really powerful exercises for you to start with. Okay, are there results for everyone? It might be at different paces, but if the work is done, can I feel the difference by a lot in the course? So I think you're talking about my 6 week course. Basically, will everyone experience results from it? Yes, I haven't had anyone who went through the course and was like, I didn't feel anything. Like usually by the end of week one, there's a specific breathwork practice I teach called transformational breathwork that it blows everyone's minds, because it's it's an incredibly powerful practice. It basically puts you into this like psychedelic type state. You're like tripping just from breathing intensely for 30 minutes, right? So there you will definitely feel the work very significantly, very quickly in the course. The next question is, what is the purpose of having the tongue to the roof of the mouth? So this connects the renmai and the dumai, the two channels in the microcosmic orbit. They both start at the perineum. The front channel, the renmai, ends at the tip of the tongue. The dumai, the back channel, it ends at the roof of the mouth. So when you place the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, you complete the circuit, and therefore the microcosmic orbit can flow in a circle. I bought some moringa and I find it disgusting. Is there anything you recommend to take it with to make it better? That's funny. I usually I put some water in my mouth, put like a teaspoon of moringa in, just swish it down. But I have a pretty strong taste tolerance for things. Put it in a smoothie. Mix it with some almond butter, some peanut butter, whatever. Some kind of healthy sweetener and like some protein powder. Mix it with some things, some berries, whatever, and make it taste good. Does practicing sexual kung fu affect morning wood? Definitely, you build your sexual energy, you increase your testosterone, and you definitely, that's one of the things I noticed was like, wow, I'm having these like super crazy erections in the morning. But yeah, it will definitely affect your morning wood. As you build your kidney energy back up, you build your jing chi, your sexual energy. But you'll also learn how to, because obviously it can be distracting, wake up in the middle of the morning with a huge erection, but you learn how to draw that energy out of your erection so it goes away, and you kind of harness that energy. What are my thoughts on working with Ormus and its influence on chi cultivation? I've been taking Ormus for a few months now. I honestly haven't noticed like a super significant difference. A lot of these supplements I'll take just because of everyone's like talking about them, like, oh, it's the best. It's gonna like, I didn't notice a very significant difference personally. But again, I'm doing so many energetic practices that I'm already like, blasting off every day anyway. So that's, my honest opinion and experience with it. But I've seen, a lot of studies showing the benefit of Ormus. So it can be a great supplement to take. What are the best practices to achieve self-mastery in life? It's a good question. Obviously, being able to control your sexual energy is a huge one. I think I would say it's a huge foundation of self-mastery, because this is the most difficult thing for a lot of people, is this sex drive. I know a lot of people who are very evolved and disciplined in a lot of areas in their life, very spiritual people, but they're still like controlled by their sex drive, right? And so when you develop your skill of being able to harmonize your sexual energy, it really makes a lot of other things a lot easier. It's a huge one to check off the list, we could say. So, sexual kung fu practices, meditation, internal energy training, be it, qigong or like advanced yoga practices, things like that. Being able to work, with your internal energy in a tangible way is very important. And of course, having something that you're mastering in your life too, like, so maybe it's playing a musical instrument, something kind of creative like that is a great method of not only a creative outlet, but just another way of kind of mastering your mind and body connection. I think physical exercise is really important too. I've accidentally gone like 1 to 2 weeks without even touching myself. Is this potentially bad, or will the natural morning wood keep me healthy? It's not a huge deal, but it is good to, it really is a use it or lose it situation with pretty much everything in the body, right? The genitals too. It's good to at least like massage them, massage your testicles, keep the blood flowing in there, keep things moving, do testicle breathing, keep the energy flowing in your body, things like that. Okay. Do I know of any case where a man regrew head hair through harnessing the sexual energy in semen? I have a friend who was balding. He was losing his hair, and he started practicing semen retention, and his hair started growing back. So this can be an effect on balding. I'm not saying it's the only effect. I'm not saying, making no medical claims here, but kind of the Chinese medicine theory is that, again, ejaculation is using up your jing. Your jing is your physical essence. It's what's creating your body. When you run out of it, you die. And so by stopping this leak of your jing, by practicing retention, the body no longer has to pull the minerals and resources it needs out of like the hair, which is often what it's doing, right? Can one build up too much sexual energy? Yes, definitely. You'll know this is the case because you become excessively like sexually obsessed, maybe you turn into a pervert, you have these uncontrollable impulses. where you just, you feel angry, irritated, you're like a loaded, atomic bomb, right? So too much though is going to be relative for each person. This is why it's so important to have some sort of internal energy practice where you're creating a pathway, again, for the energy to flow, the sexual energy, to be able to transmute it through the body. Then you'll be able to hold a lot more sexual energy without feeling like you're going crazy. My thoughts on gaining weight rapidly in a healthy way. Asking is I'm very skinny, 5'8", 115 pounds. Anything that's like, excessively accelerated isn't always balanced, right? So don't worry too much about doing it overnight. But in general, I used to be really skinny. I used to be 135 pounds. I'm 6'1". I was like a string bean, right? I started doing strength training. Went to the gym. I joined the gym, started lifting weights. Started eating 3,000 calories a day, so I was eating 4 meals a day. I still do a lot of protein, a lot of fats, things like that. That's, get plenty of sleep. Okay. I'm a school student and was wondering what fundamental routine you would recommend implementing throughout the day and when to do these activities. Well, it depends what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. In general, a good starting practice is going to be I always recommend starting with the Dantian building practice, which is, again, on my YouTube channel. It's the #1 exercise to build energy. That's what the video is called. Start with that, 10, 15 minutes a day of that. If you can do some Qigong as well, it's going to be awesome. So I have my Qigong playlist, do the newest video on there. It's going to be like 45 minutes of daily practice, just doing that if you have the time. So that's a great place to start. Is it possible to ejaculate without losing your sexual energy? It is, without losing any sexual energy. I don't know about that, but that's something I found personally, and a lot of people who've taken my course found as well, is that a lot of the sexual kung fu practices are about drawing the energy out of the semen. You're not moving your semen through the body. It's kind of a misconception for some people. The semen doesn't move from the testicles, but you're extracting the essence of the semen, that jing qi, as the Chinese call it, right? This sexual energy. So when you're having these long, tantric sex sessions, you're pulling all this energy out of your genitals, moving it to your organs, to your brain, exchanging it with your partner throughout, a long period of time. If you do ejaculated, what I found is that, I do occasionally ejaculate during sex. It's not a big deal, right? I find that when I'm doing these, because of doing these practices, it's like I've extracted most of that energy and I don't feel depleted from that. So that's, again, one of the benefits of sexual kung fu practice. Which is better, circulating energy through the microcosmic orbit or directly to the Dantian from the root chakra? Neither of them are necessarily better. It's just a different way to work with your energy. If you just bring it to the Dantian, then you're building your Dantian energy. You're building kind of your core energy, which is a great place to start with, right? But after you build your Dantian, after it's kind of full of qi, full of jing, then moving it through the microcosmic orbit is going to nourish the whole body, because all the orbit connects to all the glands, connects to all the other energy meridians of the body. So it's just a different application. It's a different outcome, basically. So it just depends what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, what do I think about semen retention supplements like pine pollen? It depends, right? Here's the thing: is like people doing semen retention, and they're like, I got to build my sexual energy, and they're taking all these, sexual energy building supplements, but they're like, well, why am I so horny and I can't control my sexual energies? Because you're taking all these. First of all, you're building your sexual energy, then you're taking all these supplements that are also building your sexual energy. So it can be an imbalance. I've done this myself. So it depends what your needs are. If you're really depleted and you're like really trying to build your gene back up, then yes, it's good to take like these testosterone boosting gene building supplements. But if you're already like super horny, you have all these sexual thoughts and impulses, you're going long periods of time without ejaculating, then it might be imbalancing you to be taking sexual energy boosting supplements on top of that, right? So This is the theory of herbalism, is that different bodies need different things at certain times, right? It's about what balances you, not about what, jacks you up the most, because you can overstimulate yourself. Okay, my thoughts on Game Changers movie, plant-based diet. You have to be really careful with diet stuff. Even when, I've seen scientific research, showing that yes, the vegan diet is the ultimate diet for all human beings. If you don't do this, you're going to be, you're going to have cancer and die. I've also seen, very convincing scientific evidence that the carnivore diet is like the healthiest diet for all people. So there's, this is kind of the quantum physics thing, that the expectation shapes the outcome. We literally shape the world around us based on our expectations and things like that. Having said that, again, I don't like to, I'm not a fanatic about diets. People tend to form religions around diet. Like, I have to only eat fruit the rest of my life, or else I'm going to be unholy. I'm going to be, toxic and acidic, right? Or I have to be the carnivore diet, right? Everyone's body is different. Your body knows what it needs. So what I stress to you is to learn what your body actually needs, right? It's easy to eat from your head. Like, well, I read this person said that, this was very convincing, therefore I must have this diet. But a lot of people actually make themselves sick because, again, our diets, our bodies are unique. We have different genetics, different needs, even at different times, different seasons. Our bodies need different things. Like if you're eating a bunch of fruits and things in the winter, if you live in a cold environment, it's going to really throw your body off. So learn to listen to your body. I learned muscle testing, which is incredibly valuable skill. And that's how I learned to know what foods are good for me and what foods are not. I did the vegan thing for a long time and it actually really threw me off. So I'm not vegan anymore. So again, I'm not promoting any certain diet. I'm just saying that, be careful, do your research, and actually learn to listen to your body, what it actually needs and wants. Not everyone can absorb the nutrients from plants as efficiently as, certain people with different blood types, different genetics, right? Okay, when doing the microcosmic orbit and self-pleasuring, is using porn or thinking about sex useful? I do not recommend using porn. It overstimulates you. You tend to get overly focused on this image. It kind of pulls your energy out of your body. You'll find that it creates kind of this intense heat that can't really be resolved, right? It really throws you off. So don't use porn. Thinking about sex, kind of like fantasy, it can be, if you need that to become aroused, to get to the sexual cultivation, that it can be helpful in the beginning, but don't overly focus on it. Again, it'll kind of disconnect you from your body. Okay, here's a question. I have been doing Montauk Chia's method for 6 months, not ejaculated in 5 months. Suddenly stopping ejaculation during sex has become much harder and penis is much more sensitive. So Montauk Chia teaches the, squeeze your pelvic floor during sex. I assume he's still teaching that. I know he used to. That's the first method I used, right? The problem with this method is that all this tension stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. The muscles in the pelvic floor are connected to the nerves of the sympathetic nervous system. That's why when you squeeze your pelvic floor, you feel much more sensitive in your penis, and it actually makes you ejaculate quicker. That's why I'm now teaching methods of relaxation, relaxing the pelvic floor, stretching the muscles down there so that you can last longer, basically. And if you go 5 months without ejaculating, you're going to have a lot of, potentially a lot of sexual energy built up. So don't. Sometimes it's just time to let it go and start over, right? That's a long period of time. And if you're finding it impossible to control ejaculation, then it's maybe time for a release, right? That's my approach. Is everything in balance? It's not about trying to hold your semen forever. There's a time and a place for an ejaculation. Sometimes it will actually balance you. Obviously, not frequently, not regularly, but listen to your body is what I'm saying. But try the methods of relaxation versus the Montauk Chia methods of squeezing everything as hard as you can. Again, I had trouble with those methods after a while as well. Yes, you can practice the microcosmic orbit without getting too deep into spirituality like a monk. But you can be spiritual without being a monk, Okay, is starting semen retention in your 40s too late? Definitely not. This is it's a pretty common time for men to get into these practices, especially if you're, exploring qigong, sexual energy, yoga, whatever. Um, the older you get as a man, the more important it becomes to practice semen retention because you can ejaculate a lot more in your teenage years and early 20s without being too big of a deal, right? You don't it doesn't like most men, their teenagers and 20s can ejaculate and then get it back up in 5 to 10 minutes. So that's changing now as men are becoming more sexually depleted because of porn addiction and things, right? So the older you become, the harder it is to recover from an ejaculation, basically. So it becomes more important to regulate your ejaculation and go for longer periods of time. So yeah, 40s is a great time to start, actually. Have I ever come into contact with deities while practicing qigong? I've recently heard some spooky stuff. I've had some very mystical experiences. I was doing a primordial qigong form. I was out at my parents' farm. This was a few years ago, and I just finished the form. And I just remember having like a really profound thought. I was like, kind of like had a question. Like there was these like three super bright. It was just getting dark. There was this like these three super bright lights that appeared in the sky. I was like a foom, foom, foom. It was really trippy. But other than that, qigong isn't even really like a mystical thing. It's just the fact that like qi isn't really established as a science because it's intangible for most people because they haven't tried to develop a connection to it. To me, qi is as much of a reality as water or like touching the wall because I I can feel it very tangibly in my body. It's nothing. It's not this mystical esoteric thing. It's just something we've forgotten how to connect to. Just like electricity, right? It was this unheard of thing until people realized they could harness it. Now we just are like, yeah, electricity it's just taken for granted. Same thing with chi. There's nothing overly mystical about it. It's just it's a fact of the universe, right? And when you learn how to cultivate it, it becomes very tangible and part of your daily life. Okay, is becoming celibate useful in doing semen retention and sexual kung fu? It depends. People ask this a lot, and I always say that celibacy is not something that should be forced. If you force yourself into celibacy, it's probably just not going to work for you. You're going to get sexually frustrated, and it's just not going to be fun. If it arises naturally as part of your practice, you're engaged deeply in your spiritual path, you're cultivating your energy, doing internal energy practices, and naturally you lose the desire to have sexual relationships, then that's great, right? But forcing yourself into celibacy isn't necessarily beneficial. That's why I think it's important to learn the sexual kung fu practices as a man because you learn how to have sex without ejaculating. Therefore, there's no problem being in relationships. You can manage that. Okay. Why is Kareza so different? So it's so difficult. So Kareza is basically a method of it's a very relaxed approach to sex. Typically, people get into sex, they're trying to imitate porn. It's very goal oriented. They're trying to like thrust into each other, usually, overstimulating yourself and just ejaculating very quickly. It doesn't last very long. Kareza is an approach of very meditative, slow movement, slow stimulation, not necessarily even having the goal of orgasm. The goal is just to connect with your partner. And so the question, okay, so your question, why is this difficult? My girlfriend and I always tend to forget what we're doing. Sex ends up being faster than we intended, and I almost always ejaculate. So it's really just you're getting back into old habits. It's easy to do that. Obviously, you're in a sexy situation. It's like, okay, I can't take it anymore. We just need to go, right? And that's a part of it is like not being able to handle that intense buildup that's happening. That's what happens when you really slow down and you relax during sex. You build up so much more of a charge, an orgasmic charge, but most people can't handle that. They can't handle so much sensation in their bodies. They have to release it. Opening up your body more, relaxing more, breathing deeply, opening up the microcosmic orbit. It takes training, right? It's a process, but something somebody might be aware of, I guess. I hooked up with a girl but didn't ejaculate, but I feel really tired. I need your help. So here's the thing. Obviously, could be many reasons for this. Were you up all night having sex? You're going to be tired. There's a lot of factors, and you're not necessarily going to feel like energized, like you just took a hit of cocaine. What? Okay, sorry. You're not necessarily going to feel energized, like super jacked up every time you have non-ejaculatory sex, especially because typically during a sexual exchange, there's kind of this balancing effect. Like you think of like your two batteries meeting together, so it's going to kind of consolidate that charge. So it could be, in fact, that you've been overstimulated. Maybe you haven't gotten enough sleep, and the kind of harmonizing of your energy through sexual exchange makes you feel sleepy because you need to feel sleepy, right? That's a possibility. Or it could be that it was a imbalanced exchange and you got depleted, or there's many possibilities, right? Why are wet dreams always so fast? Good question, because that's something I noticed as well. Like I used to have wet dreams a lot in my the early years of semen retention. And I found it was always interesting because it was often just like really random, weird things, like not even necessarily like I was having sex in my dream. It was just like all of a sudden I'm just like ejaculating. Sometimes there's like really weird circumstances, and I can't really explain it. This is my wet dream stories, right? So I don't know, but typically it's like your subconscious mind, is like, oh, he's asleep. We're just gonna let it rip. He won't let us do this, so we're gonna have some fun. So it's often kind of a resolution to sexual desires that you haven't been able to bring to completion through meditation or other things, right? I'm getting spastic reaction in my jaw and my face when I'm trying full body orgasm. That'll happen sometimes. Like there's places in your body where energy is kind of locked up. You'll have these random like rushes or like tingles or spasms in your body. Like the other day, my partner and I were, we were having a lovemaking session, and I was starting to have this like orgasm coming on, but it was like it moved into my thigh, and my thigh started like spasming. I had like a thigh orgasm. It was really weird. Okay, is there an imbalance in the body when homosexuals have sex? They just need to practice sexual kung fu. For men, this is obviously, I have no experience of this, so this is not something I'm saying from experience, just something I've heard theoretically, right? Is that because when two men have sex, men are yang in nature, right? You might be a bit more yin, but just overall, men have this yang energy. I mean, the semen energy, it's yang energy. So when two men have sex, there can be a bit of an excess yang generated. So if you are a homosexual man in a sexual relationship, it would help you to balance by supplementing with the yin energy, right? Connecting with the earth through like gardening, walking barefoot on the earth, doing certain qigong practices. So just a subtle thing to be aware of. How do you know when you've built the lower dantian? What are the signs to know? You know because you feel it very tangibly, and you can activate it pretty quickly by just kind of bringing your awareness down there. I mean, in the beginning, it'll be more just when you're like sitting down or like in a qigong posture, but in general, yeah, you've built it because you've activated it. Kind of the next step is you can connect it to your hands when you're doing qigong, so you feel the dantian light up. You activate it, and then you place another part of your awareness in your palms. Your hands are the Daling point here in the wrist. It's the energy hotspot, and you'll feel the hands pull the chi from the dantian. You can move it through your body, so it's kind of another step in it. I teach this stuff in depth in my Immortal Energy Arts online academy, immortalenergyarts.com. Okay, can cultivating sexual energy affect your sleep? I think I've been a bit more restless when trying to go to bed. Yes, definitely, especially if you're self-cultivating. I found myself, early in my training, I was doing a lot of self-cultivation because, again, I was just trying to master this stuff. I found that if I did it within a few hours of going to bed, I couldn't sleep. It kept me awake because, again, as men, that yang, our sexual energy is very yang, it's very fiery. So I don't recommend self-cultivating your sexual energy close to bedtime, like 3 or 4 hours. It'll keep you up. But with a partner, it's different for me. When I'm if I'm having sexual cultivation with my partner, even like right before going to sleep, because I'm absorbing some of her yin, so it's a lot more balancing for me. So I always feel very relaxed afterwards. In general, I would avoid keeping energy out of your head, though, close to bedtime. Like if you're having late night tantra session, whatever, don't move the energy up to your head. Just work with the lower centers of the body so you don't get all stimulated. I feel like a pressure cooker when I have sex. Yeah, you need to learn how to open up the channels of the body so you can move the energy up so you have more room to keep it in, right? Learn to relax and hold that sexual charge without feeling that need to ejaculate. How do you get it up with no sexual content in front of you or even without sexual fantasy? There can be a bit of kind of rewiring your brain, reprogramming. When you've been used to watching porn all the time for years, it takes some time to kind of like reset your sensitivity to where you don't require heavy amounts of stimulation to feel aroused. But yeah, when you're doing self-cultivation, either just stimulating your the feeling of stimulation, just feeling that can be enough to create arousal, or using a bit of fantasy in the beginning till you kind of get aroused and you can let go of the fantasy. Okay, can women lose gene through orgasm? I think this question comes up every time. Typically, women do not lose energy through orgasm the way that men do, because men, when they orgasm, when they peak orgasm, they're releasing semen. This is concentrated life force. Women, when they're orgasming, they're not releasing anything. Even like the female ejaculate fluid, it's not the same as semen for a man, right? But for women, women do lose their gene through excessive menstruation. You guys have probably heard me talk about this before, so it's going to be a repeat. But again, for women, the menstruation is basically a psychic cleansing. The body uses its own energy, its gene, its blood to purge these kind of psychic toxins out, negative emotions, traumas, and things like that. So for women, it's about learning to release negative energy, release traumas, negative emotions on their own, so that the body doesn't have to use all these resources to clean them. And then their periods become much, much lighter, much, much effortless, and they don't lose energy through it. Okay, from Instagram. I'm a woman that's been in a toxic relationship with a man that was a porn addict. I feel very hurt and affected by this. Any advice? Yeah, it can be tough, I'm sure. Obviously, setting your own boundaries, if him watching porn is not okay with you, which I imagine, it obviously creates a lot of energetic complications, right? So just saying, hey, this is not okay in the context of our relationship, set your boundaries, establish what it is you need and want in your relationship, and, support him the best you can, if that feels right. When I use the $1 million button technique and I see some semen in the urine, I lose semen as in a regular ejaculation. If it's like really foamy and floaty, urine, this means that you had a retrograde ejaculation, which is where the semen goes into the bladder. So this method, it's not a very good method. I do teach it in my course because it can be kind of a good kind of training wheels method, kind of a last resort when nothing else works. But in general, you still lose energy through it, even when you do it right. So it's just not a great method, and I don't recommend relying on it. You condone same-sex relationships. It's not my business what other people's sexual preferences are. I believe that people are free to express love, express their life in whatever way they choose. It's really none of my business how other people express themselves. Second question, can masturbation negatively affect my relationship? It depends what your masturbation habit's like. Are you like blowing off your partner to go masturbate instead of hang out with them? That might affect your relationship. Are you ejaculating every time you masturbate? That will affect your sexual energy. You might not be able to get it up, when you're with your partner. But are you using masturbation as a method of self-cultivation, non-ejaculatory, to learn how to control your sexual energy, move it throughout your body? That's fine. It's not gonna, have any issues with that, unless your partner doesn't want you to do that. But that could be a whole nother thing, right? I've been scared away from Qigong after coming across a website. This dude claimed he got possessed and had to visit an Islamic sheikh. It was a daily practice of mine before. I need it for semen retention. Again, this is incredibly rare. Oh, let me restart my Instagram feed. So yeah, these kinds of things are incredibly rare. I've been doing Qigong every day for 7 years, and I haven't had any weird issues like this. Don't worry about it. Again, there's nothing like really crazy about doing Qigong. You're just moving energy through your body. It's unless you're doing some like really, really out there stuff, which if you are, you'll know. It's really nothing to worry about. Edging is okay with semen retention? It's a question. It depends how you do it. I made a video on this, but basically edging can help you or it can hinder you. If you're edging without the skill of like working with sexual energy, moving it through your body, then you're probably just going to build up a lot of sexual tension in your balls and have blue balls and feel uncomfortable afterwards, right? But if you can actually do it in a way where you're training energetically to last longer, so you are working with diffusing that energy out of your genitals and bringing it throughout your body, then this has benefit in that you're learning how to control your ejaculation and work with your sexual energy, and you're learning how to you're actually cultivating energy from that, because aroused sexual energy is very powerful. You can move it into your organs, move it into your brain, and kind of amplify the processes of your body if you're doing it in a harmonized way. Any thoughts on how to resolve delayed ejaculation during intercourse and built up tension, blue balls, for example, following sex? So delayed ejaculation, like you're not able to ejaculate. I'm not an expert on this subject. It's definitely a lot more rare of a condition for men than premature ejaculation. But if you want to be able to ejaculate, then you can try like tensing up, do Kegels, tense up your pelvic floor. When you squeeze your pelvic floor muscles, your penis tends to feel more sensitive. So that may, improve your ejaculation response if that's something you want. And as far as releasing the sexual tension from your genitals, like blue balls, that's a matter of being able to, again, breathe the energy upwards in your body. Testicle breathing is pretty much the testicle massage and the testicle breathing practice, which I have a guided practice on YouTube of. It's a method for drawing the sexual energy up throughout your body. When you get good at this, you won't experience blue balls anymore. Why does ejaculation sometimes hurt? It's like someone is stabbing me with a knife. That's, could be a warning sign of something wrong in your body. I'm not sure. I personally have noticed when I went like super long times of super long periods of retention, then ejaculate, sometimes like it was a little bit painful afterwards, right? Like this, almost like this prostate thing. And which was one of the reasons I started to ejaculate every 4 to 6 weeks during sex, because it avoids this. And I want to make sure I'm keeping everything balanced and clearing out old fluids. So it's about balance for me now. Okay, how can I apply accumulated sexual energy into my study? Do the testicle breathing practice. Again, I have guided practice this on my YouTube channel, but basically you're breathing the sexual energy throughout the microcosmic orbit, working with the microcosmic orbit first, opening it up, is kind of a good foundation for this. But in general, yeah, bring it up through your body, accumulate it in your brain, bring your jing qi, your sexual energy up into your brain, store it there, and it will enhance your creativity, your focus, and things like that. You can even be doing that as you're studying, breathing from your balls up to your brain. When did the flatline start in general and when did it end? This isn't something I personally really experienced. I made a video on this just talking about, ways you can avoid this kind of flat line, which is a period of just feeling really low, not feeling very well when you first begin semen retention, because your body's kind of adjusting to new patterns. So for me, doing Qigong meditation, building my Qi at the same time made me feel really great when I was beginning my semen retention practice. Her mother works in the emergency room and had a patient who ruptured his urethra by using the $1 million point. Please don't let this happen to you. Yeah, that's why I stress don't overdo that method. It's not something you should do every day, and don't use too much force. I wouldn't want to have to go to the emergency room because I ruptured my urethra using that. Okay, how can females release negative emotions in other ways than their periods? Having some sort of internal clearing practice. I have a practice on my YouTube channel. It's called How to Clear Your Energy Field. It's a great practice for clearing. There's other specific practices which I have a free guide for women that my partner Mariah made. It's in my Instagram bio, so check that out. We also made a course for women actually where we teach the stuff in depth. But yeah, basically some kind of internal energy practice to process and release negative emotions instead of just holding them in your body and things like that. There's various ways to do this, different meditation practices, releasing that energy from your body, breath work, different things. How do you recommend to keep the energy channels to stay open while working a 9 to 5? I mean, just do your practice. I several years ago, last real job I had, I was working 40 hours a week. I was working like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And every day I came home from work, I jumped on my bike, I went to the park, and I did an hour and a half of practice, do my Qigong, do my meditation. When you get off work, do your practice. And throughout the day, when you're at work, run your orbit, run your microcosmic orbit. Why do some people develop obsession for semen or even consume it? Through the mouth? I mean, because semen it's profound essence. It's this concentrated life force, right? And I think that's subconsciously what people are craving, is that it's pure life force. It's concentrated nutrients, minerals. It's the seed of a man's body. It's the microcosm of his body. So I think that's why people enjoy consuming it and are obsessed with it. But when you're practicing sexual kung fu exercises, you can get that, exchange of the energy without physically ejaculating. So like if the partner's really craving that, you can use the practices of consciously circulating sexual energy so that they get, they get their fair share of your sexual energy without like uprooting your kidneys, which you're doing by ejaculating constantly. You're depleting your kidney gene. And, you can also ejaculate from time to time during sex if your partner really wants that, just to like keep things balanced. Okay, guys, thanks for joining me today. It's been another great session hanging out with you guys. Take care, and I will see you same time next week. Have fun and be creative, be productive. Again, focus on the things that bring you joy, enjoyment, creativity, and focus on those things. Create your own world to live in. All right, take it easy, guys. I'll see you next week.